So let's imagine that Christmas is well underway. The lunch has been served almost always by a harassed mum, who has of course put the sprouts on to simmer in November, organised the stockings, sent the cards, decorated the tree, and done 1,000 other things that her husband is blissfully unaware of, as he struggles to assemble a Lego toy, or flicks between the TV channels showing The Great Escape yet again, or a show in which Bruce Forsyth is pretending that he's not in fact dead. Children are playing with gift wrappings, finding them far more interesting than the presents they contained. Grandad is dozing in a corner, and the family dog is letting go silent but lethal farts as it tries to digest turkey giblets. The moment has arrived for the Queen's speech. I need some props to make this work, I think. What a player. Good afternoon. I'll keep this up. Despite these difficult economic times, one trusts that you have all dined well. One certainly has. One might even have had one too many sherries. As a housewife myself, I know how hard it is sometimes to make ends meet. I've tried to do my part in the belt tightening, and my breakfast muesli is now purchased from Lidl's. It looks like the bottom of a parrot's cage, but needs must. The upkeep of Buck Heist, Sandringham, Balmoral and Windsor Castle is enormous. Not to mention the costs for servants, footmen, ladies in waiting, carriages, chauffeurs, pages, food tasters, astrologers, milliners, dressmakers, grooms, corgi walkers, and various other flunkies. But at times like this I know that we British people can summon up the old blitz spirit, as we did when my cousins went on a European tour and bombed the shit out of London. Speaking of cousins, my husband has been unwell this year. A little difficulty down below. Of course he doesn't trouble me much these days. When we occasionally cruise on the Royal Yacht, the captain is now able to retract the stabilisers without fear that our bedtime gymnastics might rock the bed. Mind boggles, isn't it? One could say that one has had an interesting year. Leaving aside some members of the family publicly displaying their private parts, there have been some high points. One's Jubilee was one such. Folk up and down the land, and indeed in the Commonwealth, came together in celebration. I ignored Philip's tactless remark that being on the throne for 60 years sounded like a bad case of the squitters. And I have to say that standing in the pissing rain for hours, watching people messing about in boats, wasn't exactly my idea of fun. Neither did I enjoy the pop concert. Who was that oik on the roof of Buck Heist who looked like a poodle mangling the national anthem? In the past, on these public occasions, Philip has often been given to glowering miserably. These days, however, he's given a shot of Botox to fix a smile on his face. It has taken some time to determine the right dose, so that this lasts just long enough to cover the event we are attending. On one occasion he was given rather too much, and was still grinning inanely at a funeral some days later. I wouldn't want to wear this all the time. Then we had the Olympic Games. The helicopter stunt seems to have endeared me to many people who might otherwise have thought me a grumpy old cow. I have to confess that I have very little interest in sport, unless it involves whips, boots and horseflesh, or shooting at wildlife. However, it was gratifying to see the peoples of the world coming together in our capital city in a spirit of vicious competition. Those areas of the East End of London that we've regenerated to build stadiums and accommodation, while probably falling into decay, will nevertheless stand as a lasting monument to the involuntary generosity of those among you unlucky enough to pay taxes. Like any ordinary mother, I'm always concerned with the welfare of my children and grandchildren. It was with great pleasure, therefore, that I learned that Prince William is to be a father. His wife, Catherine, or Kate as she is affectionately known by the gutter press, was of course a commoner, but quite a pleasant girl. However, my experts examined her ancestry and discovered that she is very distantly related to William. This distance is to be welcomed, since the coupling of those more closely related has in the past produced some unfortunate mutations and gormless parasites. Tradition has it that the bride's parents paid for the wedding. Kate's mother is a former British Airways trolley dolly, and I understand that her father had something to do with baggage. They could not therefore be expected to be able to foot the bill for all the pomp of a state beano. However, these days they apparently run something called a party supplies company, so they were well placed to provide balloons, paper hats, blow ticklers and goodie bags for a reception. Mrs. Middleton also used her former airline contacts to buy up a job lot of economy in-flight meals. Having attended many tedious banquets and regimental dinners over the years, tackling rubber chicken was a doddle for me, and I found the plastic cutlery quite quaint. However, I know this did present a challenge to Philip and Charles, who normally have their food cut up for them or pre-minced. Camilla, I'm told, is not fussy about what she puts in her mouth. We won't do the glasses gesture again. Once they were married, I had to consider the question of titles. I have any number of dukedoms within my gift. My heraldry experts can snatch them from thin air and have a motto and a coat of arms ready quicker than John Prescott can abandon his socialist principles. Given Kate's parentage, I did consider that the Duke and Duchess of Gatwick or Terminal 5 might be popular. Motto, doors to manual, perhaps. But as you know, I settled on Cambridge, which I think gives them at least a vague connection with joined-up thinking. I'm pleased to see that Kate is quickly learning the royal ropes, smiling as she receives wilting bouquets from snivelling scouts and brownies, trailing in foundation stones and tilting her head at just the right angle to convey symbolic and vacuous sympathy. She's also perfecting the royal wave, although I have cautioned her to be a little more economical with this. After 60 years of doing it, I think I might have developed a repetitive strain injury. These days one couldn't chuck a decent dart even if one's life depended on it. And so another year has gone by. My husband and I survived yet another Royal Command variety performance where smut and innuendo now seem the norm. Thankfully most of this is lost on us since we are both now profoundly deaf. I will shortly have a rather busy time coming up with the New Year's honours. I imagine there will be a fair few sporty types included, although why swimming, running a bike, chucking things, punching people and such like merits a gong is beyond me. There will no doubt also be the usual suspects, captains of industry, spivs, transsexual actors, disreputable musicians and tattooed footballers and their brassy womenfolk. One does one's duty. However, over the many years of one's reign, one has come to distrust the weasel words of politicians and courtiers. No, give me the simple honesty of the doomed Grice, the nobility of the Stag at Bay, and little Frankie the Tory in the 230 at Ascot. Once he gets off the drugs rap, that is. And then, of course, there's one's dogs. One knows where one is with a corgi. I shall now hand you over to my court musician, Philip Goodhand Tate. I understand that he originally hails from somewhere called Hull in Yorkshire, wherever that is, but he has bravely overcome this dreadful handicap.
Oh, to
He is an accomplished songwriter, musician and serial romantic. He may yet receive our royal approval. Lord Tate of the various bedchambers, perhaps. Thank you so much, and a very Merry Christmas to you all.